one. We're switching scenes. God damn it.
Oh, switching the
Booga, booga, booga,
scenes.
booga, booga. Did you leave pipe yet? What?
Whoa.
Why did
Who
you
are we
need to
doing
start it
today?
off at that sentence? God damn it, Lloyd.
We're already getting demonetized.
Oh, we
Man.
were never monetized. The fuck?
Already demonetized. Thanks.
Yeah. For any future consideration of monetization, Lloyd killed that future for us. Thank you.
Hey, what if I just get a solo sponsorship? They just want to sponsor me. You know what I'm saying?
Like,
Huh?
sure you can do that too, but no, I'm not placing your fucking sponsor on this video just because out of spite.
Why not, bro?
Out of spite, god damn it.
Nah. See, I'm trying to help you, but you don't want my help.
Well,
All right, moving on.
yes, good evening everybody else. Oh my god, my head.
Everyone else.
Yes. Besides Loy here, welcome back to another night of this Hot or Trash podcast. This time we have all of the cast here. Michael is now back from his vacation and honeymoon.
Hi.
Yay.
Yes. No, I'm not gonna actually ask that. Loy has already said
heard
it.
come out of his mouth.
God damn it. No, Loy already said it too, but I won't ask any further because that is something I don't really want to know.
How about we just ask normal questions? How was your vacation, Michael?
It was
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Climbing mountains, climbing.
See? How hard
everything.
is it to ask a normal question, Brian?
How hard is question to ask?
I blame Loy.
Michael.
I blame Loy. I
Loy.
don't want to do self accountability for this.
Wow, it sounds like society right now. Just kidding.
Yeah, true.
No, I'm not.
Nah, damn. Well, in this case, we're all glad to hear that you are back now too, and also, yay, the whole crew is back for the entirety of October. Because November, I will take another few week hiatus for other stuff. Hey,
Oh my gosh.
What are you doing?
Well,
one of the weeks.
Enjoy as while you guys can.
Yeah, because November 1st is going to be.
Sentence was.
Yeah, November
I was
1st
I
will
was trying
be.
to make it sound good, but you know, Brian speaking over me is giving me.
No, shut up. You speaking over me. I'm trying to say shit.
Well, now you know how it feels, bitch.
Oh my god.
Ooh.
But yes, November 1st will be Lloyd's birthday. So there's that. He's going to be 29.
28, damn, bro.
Nah,
Can't even do
I'm
something
pushing
like
an
that.
agenda. I am pushing an agenda. He is.
97 to fucking 2005. God, it's 28. What the fuck?
I'm pushing an agenda. You're getting older,
No wonder
Lloyd.
you're a
Fuck
fucking
you.
mechanical engineer. Can't
What?
even math.
What?
There's no math's the issue.
But yes, moving from that, and then the week after that, I'll taking a weekend vacation, just because lots of things been happening for the past few weeks. Kind of need it.
He just doesn't like us. Just say
Eh,
Chef.
no,
Reasonable.
I always like you guys too, especially how you make me become an alcoholic.
My left
No,
wall
you
sack.
became an alcoholic before you could become friends with us.
Look at that. He's blaming us for his own problems.
real,
Always gotta dodge
Me.
accountability. But you know what I won't dodge, dude? My whole love with
Gotta teach
Gundam
that
stuff.
But you know who
God,
I won't
shut
dodge?
up.
Our sponsor for this video.
Definitely not sponsored, but if you want to, Bandai, I will definitely send for you for more Gundam cards, please.
No, don't do it.
Anyways, today's topic.
Yes, it's mostly we're going to be talking about Gundam, and if anything, I will be providing a crash course for the other 2.5, only because Loy is 25% aware of the story that is Gundam. Most of the knowledge coming from G Gundam. Yeah, that's
Finger gun.
so. Dude, okay, well,
Whoa.
so
All
to
right.
provide, so the only reason why I'm wanting to talk about this is because me and Loy here have been participating more in playing Gundam card games, specifically the Bandai variant stuff. Because I know there's multiple versions of a Gundam card game that have been released over the years, but the most recent thing with Bandai, same thing with the One Piece card game. We've been playing that more, and it's fun, and a lot of people are getting into Gundam stuff too. However, you guys never asked, so I made this for you just to fulfill
Gundam
my
style?
needs. Yes.
Gundam style.
There's someone that made an animation of a RX-78 or the OG Gundam doing the Gangnam dance somewhere.
Nice.
Damn, that's pretty good.
I agree.
Yes, but so in the meanwhile, let me get this shit loaded in on your guys' side first, and then we will go ahead and change to the presentation time scene. Blah, 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 blah.
I will not.
Yes.
I can't
So
see
here.
anything.
Oh,
I'm blind.
oh, it's because I have it there. Now, can you guys see?
Still loading.
No.
Still
Just
loading
kidding,
for
I
you.
can see.
I'm
Man,
gonna
Alright.
that Gundam looks like it got some butt cheeks. In its
That's
front.
what I'm saying, bro.
So,
We got some front cheeks.
leave a comment for the because I'm also recording this too. God damn it! For those that understand where this quote comes from with Ottawa Gundam, please
Ottawa?
leave it below. Please leave it below which Gundam series this line was said in. So, moving on from here too.
You
this
will
is
win
me
nothing.
making-
Yeah, you don't get a prize or anything.
So let's go with, in this case, what is Gundam primarily about to? Or in this case, where did it come from? Obviously, this is a Japanese anime, and it's probably one of like the core animes to ever come out during its time. Especially stuff with Macross Frontiers, Zoids, Robocop, or Robomech. What was it? Did I say Macross already? I probably did. But anyways,
What are
it's
you
one...
talking about?
Something. God damn it. But to make this simple too, Gundam is probably one of the more successful of the Gundam series to actually launch into international like fan fame. Mostly because of not only was it just about mechs too, it had some like the other engaging story topics too, such as war politics. Yeah, say
World
some...
politics.
No, war. No, war politics.
World politics.
God damn it. I swear I'm not slurring my words when I say this. So, originally too, Gundam as a series itself is currently owned by Sunrise Entertainment. And also the really cool reason for this as well is despite like every other mechas, they had demonstrated some ways to of like mechanical like animations to show you like some realism despite it being a science fiction. They actually employed, I believe, yeah, I'm looking through my notes here. They employed a mechanical designer named Kunoi Okawara.
Canute?
I don't know. Kunoi.
Oh.
So a lot of it is mostly like he was in charge of leading the design team of, in this case, how would you practically make an actual moving mecha with real life mechanical principles and whatnot. And this is how we came up with the RX-78, or everyone kind of just knows it as the Gundam. Now, the only thing that's confusing too is just like, wait, that's not the Gundam I remember watching as a series too. And you might be right, because Gundam as the entire franchise has multiple timelines. How many timelines, you may ask? This many timelines.
You might be
really?
right.
So
At this point, they are right.
It's
Yeah,
like- yeah. So, as you may see, looking at this, and you're probably already developing an aneurysm looking at this here. We are only going to be focusing.
I'm listening to you.
Okay, fair enough. But we are mostly focusing on the UC timeline of the Gundam verse, because that's the only thing that we have the most information of, because every other timeline is more like a spin-off series based off of other things. For everyone else in America too, they will probably have seen most definitely Gundam Wing or G Gundam, which is like AC or After Colony or the Future Century for G Gundam.
Why are there so many timelines?
It's mostly because the whole series themselves alone, they always wanted to like try to branch out to see, take Gundam in a different direction of like a what if scenario of other things. That's primarily it too, and they also kind of want to sell more toys or merchandise. Let's be
But none of
honest.
them are related, right? Outside of them just being the name Gundam.
Yeah, being the name Gundam, yes. Some of them, in some instances, they might have similar storytellings from one another, but they are all, if you look at all the series name, they are all their own separate entities that have no relation to the UC timeline. The UC is the main timeline that you see here. We have stuff with Future Century, that's G Gundam, After Colony, Wing, After War is X, Correct Century, which is Turn A Gundam. If you really saw the symbol there, that is called Turn A. I won't go into that one because that one is also a little bit weird. We have Cosmic Era, Seed, Anno Domino. That's also another advanced. Yeah, it's a whole lot of other stuff too. You even have something that talks about during the Sengoku period as well, where it's like a what if scenario if the Sengoku era had like Gundam units and whatnot. But all of that, but all of that is unimportant because we're mostly going to be focusing on the UC timeline because that's genuinely speaking that has like the more stories being developed on this timeline versus everything else. Which, to be fair though, they are spin-offs. So what can you really do about that, right? So, yeah. So in this case, your guys' impression of seeing this many timelines.
I think it's a lot of hoopla.
Yeah, pretty
They
much.
better be good.
I will say like a handful of these series are good, although that's debatable. It's objectively debatable, depending on who you ask in this regard. Because
Don't ask
Gundam,
Brad.
yeah, don't ask me to. I have a particular opinion about certain series, but yes, we will move on. So, what is Universal Century about? So, the main points that we're going to be talking about is the 1-year war. In this case, why did we use mobile suits in a science fiction medium? And it's primarily about space racism. Although other series dive on this topic a little bit more so, but this one has lots of that still. You have, in this case, what makes them special, and child soldiers. Yes.
Always love that.
Because at the end of the day, whenever Gundam was being developed as a series as well, during the time frame, I believe it was during the 70s or 80s when they developed the original Gundam series. It was the creators' way of showcasing, in this case, an anti-war propaganda, especially for those that were like very much adamant on like the macho-ness of like we need to go to wars and whatnot too. It's like trying to glorify this, but reality is like no, if anything, war is still awful no matter what too. And this is just another medium that kind of showcases that. Albeit some people in the fandom like to take it as like, oh, but we love Gundam mecha action. That looks so cool, without realizing the bigger portrait of all of that. Like, this is actually just awful for everybody. So it's divisive depending on who you ask. That's why I say like anyone's opinion about what's the best Gundam series is subjective, based on like the mental capacity that people have about the series. So we will move on.
Mental capacity.
Yes. So who are we talking about in this case? What is the 1-year war? It is exactly that too. During the original Gundam series, there was the initiation of the 1-year war, which starts with, in this case, what we call the foundation of the Principality of Zeon. Which, for your guys' case too, they are the one in the green mecha mobile suits. That's
The ones who
in
are
this case,
getting their like
the
butt
ass
handed
is
to them in this image.
ass is clapped in this image here. So, without looking too much into like the context of this picture too, Zeon is in this case a faction that resides in space that they were trying to declare independence away from Earth. Because up to this point in the story too, Earth was trying to suffer through overpopulation until they figured out a way that actually developed like space colonies to be moved out from Earth to start living there. Depending on which story you look at too, either some people volunteer or they were forcibly removed from Earth to live in these space colonies. So regardless how you look at it too, this was also another way how they were trying to pretty much solve overpopulation, while at the same time they wanted to make use of like other systems or other technologies to help develop humanity further. But in doing so, one of the key person called Zeon Daikun, which is in this case another key figure character who is the father of Char Aznable, who becomes the antagonist of the protagonist for this series. We'll get to him in a bit. His death, in this case, led to the creation of the Principality Zeon. Some people in the story too, this is based on the story, some people have speculated that Daikun was assassinated by, in this case, the Zabi family, who were, in this case, the main families that lived along with the space colonies. And they purposely orchestrated his death so that they can form a new faction under one rule to quote-unquote gain independence from Earth, but in reality they wanted to just take control of the outer space colonies and also subject their rule over Earth. So it was sort of like that too. If that kind of sounds familiar too, this is also kind of like loosely like what Expanse kind of did a little bit. So, but and during this whole entirety of this war, around 5.9 billion people were killed during the war on both sides, and the post-war population was left around 5.4 billion, less than half of their pre-war population.
That's it.
Mind you, they say 5.4 billion, which is less than half, so that means there was around like 10 or more billion people. 10 or more billion people, but it all ended that way too whenever there was a space colony that dropped onto Earth, wiping out like half the population of Earth.
What?
Don't worry.
What event would cause half the population to die, but then not cause the other half to later die?
Well,
Because that's insane.
so you would say that too, but if anything, it all is ended in Australia. That's what actually happened. That
No,
space
you know
colony
what?
hit
You just had to
Australia.
say Australia, and I understand everything now.
As weird and fucked up as that is, it is such. Now, then you look at in this case, who is Char Aznavour? Char Aznavour is the antagonist for this main series, and he is in this case part of the Xeon faction that pilots, not in this photo here, but he pilots a red Zaku, which is supposedly a prototype of what these green models are. And now, why is he important? It's primarily because not only was the fact that he was the son of the deceased father, nobody knew who he was really. Like they didn't know he had any family ties with him. But he sought in this case to seek revenge on the Zabi family because of like his father's death. Now, this is primarily explained in a more recent movie that came out called Mobile Suit Gundam Origins, which kind of actually explains out the entirety backstory of Char Aznavour, and how in this case that's not actually his name. That was a name that he took from another noble that happened to also be in the same military academy as him. That he then orchestrated his death, making it so that the actual son of Daikun supposedly died on a spaceship. But in reality, he just left his friend in there to orchestrate this death so he could take his name. And so we will look into him in just a moment here. So now we can look in this way to why mobile suits. First of all, why did we actually use mobile suits to fight it? Well, and this answer for this is kind of complicated here. The main reason is because like the power generation that they used at the time was a specific fusion reaction that required, in this case, fuel types that come from the Jupiter's helium-3 atmosphere. Now, in doing this too, whenever they used it, the byproduct of this reaction created what are called Minovsky particles. These Minovsky particles ended up, let's see here, similar to how it was inspired by the God particles IRL, it also disrupted low frequency EM waves like microwaves and radio waves. Also included stuff like unshielded electronics due to its high electrical output from this particle that would disrupt such systems, and additionally interfere with the visible light, causing a sort of a fog effect for us. That's why we rely on mobile suits, because at this point too, long-range weaponry no longer works, so we actually have to go up close and personal. Therefore, the development of mobile suits. So, if there's any questions that you guys would like to throw in there while I'm doing this too, I'd be gladly to try my best to answer it.
Yeah, so once again, why did they need to build mobile suits?
Like I said, it was primarily because of the fact that any long-range weaponry too, like guided missiles, were ineffective if there was like a high concentration of Minovsky particles in the area. Such as the fact
And
that
Minovsky particles were caused by what?
Fusion reaction that was developed at the time, using the helium-3 as a fuel source or a fuel isotope.
Okay, so it's like a just fog that just kind of goes from place to place.
Yes. Now, it's specified too that like the way how, if we go back to the original slide too, during the 1 Year War, the Xeon family or the Xeon faction were actually kicking ass during the war. Because half the time they made use of the fact that the fusion reactors was giving out such intense like communication clouds too that would disrupt it. They would use that as part of their advantage of their military strategies, such as they made their starships actually crank up the production of Minovsky particle chains and reactions to then
Yeah.
spread out the entire battlefield, pretty much like cutting off a lot of communications with each other. Then they would send out mobile suit teams that would engage them in close quarters, and it was highly effective. Char Aznavour was like the first mobile suit team to actually demonstrate how effective having a mobile suit team to destroy battleships were. It completely like made it to the Xeon's war favor to like go after such notions too. However, Earth Federation had their own battleships trying to fight back, but obviously a lot of like traditional systems were ineffective. Because imagine you try to use a guided torpedo in space, but next thing you see on the screen is like, sir, there's literally, we cannot lock onto anything. Why is that? Infrared is just white. Huh. So that is the consequences of using this type of fusion reaction that, in this case, a previous professor like discovered like how to do like clean energy using that, but in this case trying to discover how to use the Minovsky particles. And this is also the reason why Xeon created their first mobile suit. Xeon on that side was the first one to create the Zaku's, which are the left green mobile suits here. Eventually, Earth Federation developed their own, but that was only during the war. Xeon has already been trying to create these mobile suits before the war happened. To kind of put this in timeline aspect too, Xeon did already have the military edge when it came to like developing these mobile suits. But because of the Earth Federation were so desperate and trying to figure this out, they actually developed another way how they could fight back against them. Oh, also, fun fact. In the anime studio where they show Zaku's that use like machine guns, or some of like the clips where you see them using machine guns, the official wiki says that they're using 120 millimeter rounds shooting out of those rifles as machine guns. They're effectively shooting battle tank rounds at each other.
They're just holding an artillery cannon.
Yes. And they're firing it very fast.
I like that. I like that.
So, mind you,
Imagine being anybody on the ground whenever those things are being fired on.
Yes, they use them on people as well, too, on other colonies whenever they were in like atmosphere pressure too. It was super destructive.
Makes sense.
And usually a mobile suit squad consists of like at least like 3 or 4 of these Zaku's.
Okay, well, how big are these suits, bro? I mean, like 120 millimeter round is not small. You know, even for these suits, if you got to carry a lot of those, then like it's a lot.
Yeah. I don't. Damn it! I thought I had the size reference sheet here too, and I thought I wrote it down somewhere. Give me a second. Let me look at this.
Do you see the images on the previous slide though, of all the men screaming and those things were being blown up? It looked pretty big.
But if Brian's saying they're shooting it like a machine gun, you know how much ammo they have to carry?
A lot.
So
I mean, they're not small rounds either, and those suits, they're big,
Heavy.
but I don't think they're big enough to carry like that much ammo to shoot that gun like a machine gun.
supposedly they're around like 17.5 meters high, or around 57.4 feet.
That's actually kind of small, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, bro.
Well, that is at least officially stated in the first Zaku 2. They're around 17.5 meters high. But still.
Like an artillery machine gun, and they're only like not that big, honestly.
Yeah. Artillery machine gun, they're not that big. However, that was also the key reason why. Because imagine trying to detect something like that in space without being able to use like telemetry or radars to detect them, as they're being disrupted by the Minovsky particle pollution that's in your battlefield. Because these mobile suits also have the same reactors that are also dispersing Minovsky particles, effectively shielding them from other detection
I don't know why,
sources.
but I feel like Minovsky particles sound hazardous to your health.
Reasonably, you would think so too, but it actually hasn't that much too. It isn't until you start realizing what they could actually do with these Minovsky particles that becomes dangerous. So, in this case, yes, Xeon was the first one to do this, and then eventually the Earth Federation does it with their formation of the Gundam project, or I think it was the V project is what they called it. Yes, the V project. And this was something that was big for them too, because at the time being, Xeon knew that they had the advantage over them too. Because not only were these things like super effective against like space combat, where all of your traditional communication systems are rendered muted too, they could also, if they were ever damaged, they were easily replaceable. Like every parts of them is easily replaceable. Like you could look at their designs, like, oh, if an armor piece broke off too, yeah, that's easily like you could take that off and then slap in a new casted armor piece on them, and they're ready to go. As like they're big and bulky for a reason.
Modularity.
Yes, surprisingly, they really thought about modularity in mind for this. And then you see all the other battleships that also showcase as well, because despite in the future too, they did still rely on like battleships themselves because they're still big and imposing nonetheless. But a mobile suit team can actually like do single work on them too, because during that time too, Earth Federation had star fighters, but unfortunately they do not compare in this case actual mobile suits that will wreck your shit. So there's that fun part. Now we look into what were some of the applications of the M particle usage. I will use it as a, instead of trying to say Minersky, I'll just call it M particles. So what they did is that you can actually store these and then start developing weaponry about it, such as the beam cannon and also rifles for this. So this was also their way of like showcasing laser technology, albeit this is way more destructive than you actually think it is. As you can see, that? So this is them on different occasions too, how they would actually weaponize the usage of Minersky particles. And the bottom left, that's the fusion reactor that they use. That later on, they can actually use Minersky particle and replace a magnetic field to shield the plasma energy. Or to house like the reaction instead. So it's sort of like a clean, like continuous cycle of using Minersky particle for that, while at the same time, it can still generate more to then be used to power systems like laser technology or flotation systems. The flotation system wasn't really used during the 1 year war until like maybe the White Pegasus, that was, for you Lloyd, that was what White Base was called.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's that. But primarily what we really want to know is that like it was used for making beam weapon technology, using what are called energy caps.
Beam
as you can,
weapon technology.
Yeah, so in this case, lacking an energy condenser, the energy cap or energy capacitor is loaded with degenerate state of Minovsky particles. This capability controls the power of the firing frequency of the beam rifle.
Degenerate states.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So you look at this and you're like, holy fucking shit. We developed so much in technology on, this was supposed to be a clean fusion reaction, but we still managed to somehow weaponize a phenomena that we do not understand yet.
Of course.
Mind
That's how
you,
it always is.
Mind you, during this entire thing, we still had no idea why the Minovsky particle does what it does. But they were able to use that as like a military stratagem and a part of a weaponry. This is sort of like a running theme about this, where despite the advancements in technology that we had, that we could develop mobile suits and clean fusion reaction, we still use it for war. I.e., this is also how the beam saber, or the lightsaber for everyone else not associated with the Gundam term, is created, because this is them using eye fields to construct a contracting barrier that allows a hot plasma to run through the entire thing. It's insane, actually. But if anything, Michael, how much of this actually kind of not really the Minersky particles being used for weapons, but how much of it kind of goes into like real life science? If there's like particle that can like interact with the EM spectrum in this sense.
So how does it exactly affect the EM spectrum again?
So we don't necessarily know. We only know based on like the observation of it, such as the fact that the Minersky particle is just having an effect on low frequency waves to the point where it's also disrupting like actual visual aspects that we can see on the visible spectrum.
I mean, I guess theoretically, I mean, it could. I don't know. I haven't heard of high energy particles technically affecting any sort of visual spectrum.
Or
But
if
I could
there's
be
like a
wrong.
way, or if there's like some way to like, how are we usually able to detect like particles like that in the first place? Usually it's like through some disturbances, right?
Yeah, we have detectors that can like catch these things as they pass through, and they usually forgot what the device is called, but essentially whenever a high energy particle passes through it, it brings out a flash of light due to the interaction, and you can detect things like muons with it.
Hey, mind you, this is also a series that was developed in the 80s that were
Yeah,
was
well, I
describing
mean,
this.
but a muon would be a high energy particle. I mean, it's traveling literally like almost the speed of light. You can catch you can identify and see these things. Well, not see them, but you know what I mean. You can detect them.
Yeah, but so in this case, with this practice that they showcase here, would this technically be even feasible? Obviously, probably not. But the theory behind like everything that you see on here, god damn. I love too
I
that they
mean,
also
turning a fusion technology into a weapon is, I mean, plausible. I mean,
It's-
we can turn basically anything into a weapon.
yeah.
Yeah, you just gotta believe hard enough.
Yeah, I love too that like even though they call this an energy gap, you see it on there where it's like the particle cannon. It's a mega particle generator. Which here's what I think what this is too. They just took the fusion reactor part of it too because they were able to make this fit inside of like a 17-meter high mobile suit. So with this, I'm pretty sure they took that and shoved it into a weapon system and decided to say, you know what, fuck anything in that direction, and it just throws out a beam.
Or just fuck anybody that could have used that for energy.
Yeah, that could have. Mind you, they made so many mobile suits in this. There's a lot of scenes that showcases that like they were amazing at like powering like the entirety system. There was even like a point too that like the fusion reaction during the 1 year war was so good that they can infinitely run for a long period of time without refueling. And it powered every system that they had.
Run.
Yeah.
Yes,
Like,
yes. You can infinitely run for a period of time, yes.
okay, yeah, I know that sounds redundant saying it that way, but yes, they can.
Not redundant. It's contradictory.
Contradictory, yes.
It's loaded with degenerate state
Are you
how do you
still
say
on
that
that
word?
line?
Minovsky.
Minovsky particles. It's just weird because what is it? What's the significance of the degenerate states?
Because they're using that degenerate state is to actually how they propel out to produce a beam effect coming out of the rifle.
Yeah, but do you know what a degenerate state is?
Not necessarily, not from like these pictures. I will have to go back into these books that they got this from to like go into like the actual thing about it. But to make it what
like
it is, too.
Well, I like in quantum mechanics, degenerate states is like similar energy levels of a particle or of a molecule. It's like it's the energy, but it's like different energy levels. It's hard to describe, kind of, but it doesn't make sense to me, is what I'm trying to get at.
Right. I mean, all this really does is that like it's just collecting like excess like Minovsky particles that the mobile suit is generating. Because the way how a lot of these beam rifles are, then the hilt or the pistol grip of it, they would actually have a way to attach to the mobile suit to integrate with the entire like power system of it. And once it does too, it can actually channel the Minovsky particles from the generator into the rifle. So any excess is being stored into the rifle. And then there's actual systems that will shut it off if there's like excess being poured into it. But once it develops enough, it will shoot out like a very strong beam shot that pierces through anything, effectively anything. Unless it's also met with like a technology that could stop it, i.e. I fields that are being implemented in future showings of the Gundam series, which are also Minovsky particles in of it themselves too. What can stop a beam weapon generated by Minovsky particles? A shield technology that also projects out Minovsky particles. It's a very weird. it seems like a very weird idea, and I don't exactly know this one too because I try to figure it out too, and there's just some convoluted way how they do it. And
But
also,
I mean, look, in the end, it's still a story, it's still fiction.
Yeah,
They,
it's
they,
still
they gotta,
sci-fi.
they gotta make something up in between. You
yeah,
know?
but it's also like a cool concept to think about too, nonetheless.
Yeah.
But the one thing I do like, what I always think sci-fi should do, especially with technology that's super advanced, is not explain it. I mean, if we want to take, for example, the Expanse and the Epstein, I think it was called what was it called? I want to say Epstein drive, but it sounds wrong. But
Indeed.
the Expanse reactors.
Yeah, it is called the Epstein drive.
Okay, yeah. The Epstein drive, it's supposedly a super efficient reactor, but they don't go into detail. Like, it's what enables everyone to have space travel to the degree that which they have. And they
Yeah.
purposefully don't go into detail because then you get
Yeah.
people like me who will nitpick what the hell a degenerate state Mitrosky particle means.
No,
and
don't
why
worry
it
about it.
matters.
Don't worry. None of this is ever explained in the anime, which is perfectly fine, right? To like suspend
Well,
belief.
either way, it's explained somewhere because you're able to get these images.
Yeah,
like,
this is-
my criticism is they shouldn't have.
They shouldn't have, yes, but this is
It's
pretty
just
much.
like a lot of things, you know, like
It's
Halo,
like
for
the
example, with Halo, all those forerunner technologies, they're never explained, but
Yeah.
we just know that it's
You
super
accept it.
powerful and super advanced because I mean we accept it because they were an advanced race. So that
Exactly.
explanation is enough for us no further explanation is needed because of that.
Yeah, but obviously this is something that like it's sort of less like the nerdage of like kind of want to see like the mechanical system, but if you really dive into like actual practical like ideas behind it, it makes absolutely no sense. But you have to think about it like this is like the world that they're in, that this is what makes sense to them, and I'm like, okay, sure.
I mean, realistically, this is what makes sense to whoever's writing the story, you know, like they're
Right.
just doing their best to explain this. And
Yeah.
I'm sure they don't truly understand this either, which is perfectly normal.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine too. And even then too, they say to like the original maker that made the Minovsky particle, or that coined the term Minovsky particle, that discovered it, ended up actually being killed, supposedly based on the like other third stories that are out there, by his own creations because of the fact that he worked for Xeon, but he did not approve of the idea that they would be using this for war. And in doing so, like he decided to exile himself to some excluded planet or excluded parts of Earth too, but eventually gets killed by a group of Zaku's or Xeon remnants. Because at the end of the day too, in the 1 year war, Xeon eventually lost to this. But that's where we're going to see how they eventually lost. And that is Project V. This is how we see our glorious blue gray boy grandpa, RX-78 Gundam. Now, this is based on like a couple things, that this is the Earth Federation's last attempt because they were really losing this, because they had their own kind of mobile suits that they tried to develop to, based on like they were able to salvage like what they could about the Zaku's, and they were trying to like mass produce those to like fight them. But really, it was ineffective. It wasn't until a very specific scientist within Earth Federation that will go about, in this case, discovering a new element called Gundamium, which is found on the moon, apparently. It is apparently a very... Yes, I know, very funny term, yes. But the properties that I remember reading up on this is that it had very resilience against like a lot of projectile weapons that the Zaku's or the Xeon weaponry had for him.
Is it radioactive?
No, it is not. So a lot of that was actually being used as the traditional armored plating that you see on the system. The other parts about it too is that like it had such advanced control systems that no one could really pilot this Gundam, as the amount of G's that this Gundam can subject you to as it's maneuvering in space would actually just kill the pilot. We'll talk about, in this case, new types in a moment. But in this case, Amuro Ray, who was 15 years old during the time of the 1 year war, was effectively forced to pilot the Gundam in order to be able to survive and save his friends. This is where the child soldier part comes into play. Throughout the entirety of the 1-year war, the main pilot of Gundam is only a 15-year-old. And Char Aznavour was, I believe, like 18 or 20 years old, which is like something that you would typically associate people that would be fighting wars in the first place, even back then. Hell, actually 15 years old is nothing that we're that far attached from either way. But still, we don't like to think about the idea that like we're sending like young children into war. But again, Gundam itself is like an anti-war propaganda and is showing you the brutalities of like what war brings. Eventually and inevitably, children and families get involved in a war that they didn't sign up for. And therefore, you have something like this, albeit Amuro Ray in a backstory. His father was the one that actually like develops the Gundam project, and Amuro Ray, even in his downtime, was already like a very genius like student when it comes to like mechanical systems, and he was able to like understand how to pilot the Gundam as soon as he stepped into the cockpit. So we have that, and because of Project V, this mobile suit became like the baseline form of how the Earth Federation was able to develop mobile suits that began to start rivaling that of the Zaku's now. So they were able to like push back, albeit they were already losing still. But now they actually have mobile suits that they can deploy to fight against the Zaku's now. And then you are wondering, what the fuck are new types? Yes, they are an evolved humans that are quote-unquote able to live in space. The known things that we know about new types, they are known for their empathy, as they can telepathically read other people's like emotions. Therefore, normies can't do this. So you would think that in this case, in a sense that you have like in this case a new race of evolved humans that can now become more empathetic, and they can actually know what the other person is feeling. You would think that like the war about this would at this point stop. Fuck no, they were able to figure out how to effectively weaponize these new humans using what are called funnels and Psychomu interfaces. We will look at the funnels later. What Psychomu interfaces is, they were being able to use the telepathic evolution trait of these new types to control smaller drone system to attack things. Because in the Minervsky particles, you can't use like typical drone attack systems because they're being blocked out. But if you use telepathy to like communicate instead, that goes through Minervsky particles.
Oh yeah.
Does that make any lick of sense? I don't fucking know. But at the same time, that's not the point. The point being is the fact that like we have like an evolved human race that is supposed to be like, they can actually solve world peace for us, but instead we use them for war.
Yeah, that's how we are.
Because like remember like the name that I gave out earlier, I believe it was like Daikun, who was the founder before they became the Principality of Zeon. He was actually studying new types in the first place too, because guess what? Char Aznavour, his son, is considered a new type. However, throughout the entirety series too, Amuro Ray is also a new type. But we find out later on that like he will become what is effectively called the strongest new type to ever exist in the UC timeline. We will not address that too, because that becomes its own fucking plot hole to go through. Not really plot hole, but it becomes to the point where like Amuro Ray becomes effectively a god figure for new types. Because even Char Aznavour, who in its entire military career is known to be an ace pilot, a rational thinker, and a great strategist, he could not compare, in this case, whatever Amuro is thrown in, he does not want to fight him. Anytime he is ever seen or can detect if he's on the battlefield, he's just like, oh shit. Because that's the funny thing with new type, they get to detect each other on the battlefield as well. And then you also get the other like dark storyline too, of like there are both sides that were trying to generate artificial new types. I can't really get too deep into that one either, because a lot of them can be very much, it will take this video off of YouTube if I tried that.
Yeah.
But nonetheless too, new types, that's just what they are too. And realistically, Michael, because I know that this probably is not in your realm of expertise, how plausible is it if someone could develop telepathic abilities too, that we could use it for communication systems like this?
You're asking like some radical question here.
Yeah.
I mean, you're lit. I mean, anything is possible. If in that case, if you're talking about if we are able to develop some sort of telepathic ability.
Yeah.
I mean,
because
I don't know.
this is like the weirder section of Gundam that's very hard to explain to newcomers, because everything else up to this point is like, okay, this is sort of like believable in a sense here, right? Like all of this stuff here. But then whenever we get to here, this is when things start hitting the rails really hard.
Yeah, I mean,
also,
in comparison.
Yeah. Because realistic, what the Psychomo system is supposed to actually do is that like you're able to telepathically link with your mobile suit. So whatever you think, your mobile suit would actually just move for you without actually you inputting any control system input. Like let's say a joystick or like you like throttling up to. You can just think it and the mobile suit would just react on behalf of what you're trying to command it to do. But in doing so, those that are not used to piloting such will actually just die of shock or G-force impact. Just because a lot of times these systems are very responsive to their telepathic thinking. Because mind you, a lot of these times too, whenever they picture the new types, they're very much young children. So a lot of them don't really necessarily know what they are yet. But the higher-ups know what you are, and they think to keep you as a weapon more than you are actually an evolved human species. Albeit, it became so much to the point too that like Char Aznable ends up developing a schism within Zeon, creating Neo Zeon throughout the 1 Year War as well. During the 1 Year War, sorry, not throughout. Throughout would mean that like at the start of it, he already created a system. No, during the 1 Year War, he was already like an adamant like combatant during that time. And at a certain point within the 1 Year War, he decides to create the schism and then manage to have a popularity vote amongst the other Zeon factions to secede from the faction to fight against them. It's a very weird political game, and it's actually really interesting, but nonetheless, it's fucking batshit crazy. Because Char Aznable was able to like use his new type ability of like being able to know what the other person that he's talking to, and he can manipulate them. To everyone else saying that Char is not a bad person, he is a manipulative person. Because his entire character story was the fact that he was trying to enact revenge to those that wronged his father, in this case the Zabi family, and that never stopped whenever the Zabi family were eliminated. Therefore, you can see the timeline of Char Aznable growing up to be what he is too, which is like effectively the Grand Emperor of Neo Zeon, which then starts up another conflict with them in Earth Federation again, causing his beef and Amuro Ray to continue even further. And it all started because of the fact that the accidental death of Lala, which is you see in the yellow astronaut suit. It gets fucking weird, alright? But in the end too, Gundam is focused on the story of effectively teenagers that have no idea what to do with their emotions and no idea what to actually feel like too. A lot of them are able to connect with each other to a level that we cannot even comprehend. So needless to say, this is just how crazy the idea of new types were, and that's also something that like if you hear this in a lot of sci-fi story, they might have gotten it from this, or new types were also a way to like kind of explain now like how we're like you obviously you need people to be evolved in order to like live in space too. Like the Expanse kind of dealt with that too with the Belters, albeit it was probably like the worst type of way of human evolution that we could think of. Nonetheless. Now, I mentioned in this case funnels here. Lucky for you, I have a video to show you in this case what funnels look like in practice of a battlefield here too, from a particular scene in the Gundam Unicorn anime, which is a newer anime series. But here it is, which is the unit of the Kshatriya deploying funnels against 3 mobile Earth Federation mobile suits. So you can see like the usual. Oh shit! Hold up.
What?
So you can see the usualness too of like, yeah, these are fucking epic as shit. You see the typical control system that they have too, tracking all of them. So they have sensors that can do that at least, because these are close range sensors. And then you have these things. These are effectively drones. But these are not like your usual drones, as they are in this case linked to the new type's telepathic commands. So as soon as she can see the enemy, they will attack. And this is the scariness of this in space. Like, what do you do against this, Victor?
You know. I mean, well, clearly you
Go
just die.
invisible.
They
Yeah.
clearly just die.
Clearly,
This is
stealth is what the option is here.
Yes. But here you can see that, like, this showcases a lot of the coolness of Gundam itself. Where, like,
Well,
despite
look like she just fired her entire arsenal, so what weapons does she have now?
she has a beam weapon, or she has like a beam saber, but look at this guy. Even in the face of funnels, he's just like, fuck it, we ball.
Well, what are you gonna do? Just die? Of course not. You're gonna go out with a fight.
Yeah. In the story too, he was like, this is the most bravest grunt mobile suit pilot to face off somebody that is effectively a new type, using funnels as a weapon system against you. And he decides to charge at him head-on melee combat against it. In the fandom, this is like the most bravest Jigan pilot that the world has ever seen. Unfortunately, they had eye fields,
Whatever that is.
which is like, in this case, think of it like
Invisible
laser
frames.
shield. Yeah, effectively. And then you see this, which is kind of neat. Yeah, so yeah, these are funnels. This is the better way to demonstrate to you, and you can also kind of see too, like, all like the cool mechanical like animations that they did to showcase the mobile suit's complexity a little bit. But nonetheless, why is this Gundam series so popular? Honestly speaking, the way how I'm describing it to you, it's just a story in of itself too that is more compelling than even a mecha action, such as the way how we feel and drawn with political drama like Game of Thrones, The Expanse, and all of the other like HBO series that we saw too that ends up involving sex one way or the other.
Hell yeah.
So regardless whatsoever too, we find these stories intriguing, despite the fact that in a space like nightmare fuel of technology that we could think of, it's actually a really good story nonetheless too, of, in this case, anti-war propaganda. Because let's be honest too, imagine being a normal civilian and then looking at this type of shit. I would be mortified of like, I might get drafted into fighting against this type of shit.
Why are you mortified? If you die, bro.
True, but at the same time, there are even worse things that can happen to people in times of war. But nonetheless, dude, it's just a matter of like us as a spectator looking at this. This is fucking insane to think about.
Well, that's only because this isn't in our reality. If this was, then we would see this as, okay, you know what? This is war.
Like, fair enough too. We would do like everything we can to try to like normalize or rationalize the things that are happening around us, because, you know, obviously things are pretty fucked. Like, we can at least acknowledge the whole idea of the fact that we just managed to weaponize a new state of human evolution in a way that we use it for weapons for war against each other. Same thing with the fact that, again, we managed to turn fusion reactor as a way to enact war with each other, which is sort of lets the allegory and also the messaging throughout the entire thing. No matter what advanced technology that anybody use, there will be someone out there that will definitely try to use this for conflict or for war. Some type of
whatever
weapon.
destroys the enemy.
Yeah,
Whatever destroys the enemy first is our goal.
yeah. And for like the most surface level thing too, the mech scenes of like the combats is so badass to look at. As much as I would like to say that for the most part too, people that watch a series just for the mech battles too, yes, you're kind of right on that too. There are some very cool moments in like the Gundam series that make you go, okay, despite the human atrocities that have occurred here, this is kind of cool. But mind you, these are also people that are piloting mobile suits. They're mostly just soldiers that are just following orders. They didn't really subscribe to maybe the idea that like they would be commuting human atrocities too, because a lot of the Gundam series, they showcase like soldiers being human a lot of times. Like they don't out there to like straight up kill like anyone that's not a spaceborn, or they're not trying to kill any Earthlings, are not actively trying to kill anyone that's part of Xeon either. But at the end of the day, it's like survival. Like you're trying to shoot me, but I'm trying to survive. So one way or the other, someone has to die.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the whole thing about it too, why the original creators of Gundam was making this anime in like a response of those that in this case are for war, but in showcasing in a different medium. And honestly, if he wanted this or not too, an entertaining media piece that kind of showcases the futility and also the brutality of war. Like how much, like, even though you as a young person, you have ideals and dreams too, how much that doesn't matter in the face of someone wanting you dead more than the other side. So that's just like the biggest irony in a lot of this too. Like you could have like this message about it too, but it also kind of becomes its own self-fulfilling prophecy of like, yes, you're trying to push like against war, but then you have people that love the fact that how cool this looks too. And then you have like in Japan, they're actively making like mobile armor or mechas kinda in real life as well. Hell, in the first picture I even showed you too, in the very first frame, this is actually seen in Gundam, or in Japan, in I believe it was Yokohama Harbor. Originally taken down, but obviously they're trying to bring it back out as another mobile suit that they're trying to work on right now. But again, they can already achieve this, kinda. It's just a matter of like how I think the original message for the creator is kind of lost within pop culture. Because in your opinion, Victor, too, the way how I kind of describe it to you too, how do you look at Gundam as a series based on like what I've told you and what you've seen so far? And I guess also for you too, Lloyd, because I know you had watched Gundam previously too, but it's also for one of the series, primarily G Gundam.
Well, it's just a mecha anime to me. I don't know, man. I'm not really into this mech stuff, so.
Right. If anything, yeah. If anything, that's why also again too, if we look at this timeline here, I would talk about like all the other thing, but I like to really talk about the UC stuff too, because that was pretty much like the originality of like the messaging of anti-war propaganda that kind of like proliferate all of Japan too. And it's also the main series that got very popular, because it wasn't just Gundam that became popular as well. It wasn't just the only mecha anime that came out. It was just the one that took off because of like honestly its very powerful message that they were trying to portray here. I just feel like in modern times too, it was just fortunately enough too, people kind of watch it for now like the cool ass mecha action stuff. And here's the thing, I'm a participant in that too. I love mechas entirely too, but I also agree with the messaging that they were trying to go for. It's just as also we're going to go into the last part about it, of in this case some very bad takes. Yes, I unironically have to use the SpongeBob meme for this because a lot of these were just really bad. So a couple of things that we go through, straight up to, we're going with the whole Gundam series is way too political. Give me the mecha action here. I'm sorry to fucking say this too, no story is actually compelling unless you actually throw some type of politics that makes sense for the setting too. Hell, Lloyd, to put in your areas, we look at G Gundam too. Don't you think it's kind of fucked too that like every other governments too decided to say, you know what, fuck Earth, we're just going to take all of our government system and people that want to join with us out into space, and we're just going to turn Earth into a big ass coliseum for us doing military arm race bullshit.
And that was the plot of the whole series.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Like, despite like people like treat it as like, oh, it's just like a very shonen stuff too. But if you really look into it as well, it's like this is kind of fucked actually. Of in this case, the way how like they show elitism in like a series that feels like it should just be a fun, dumb fun like shonen anime. But I guess again, that is the point of all this too. That's why you see like plots of like Master Asia actually like very compelling a lot of ways. So there's that too. And no matter what you go about it too, I think here's the thing about it. Things becoming too political in a media space, I don't necessarily agree with that per se. But it's only because this is coming from the fact that the politics in Gundam series only makes sense because it's involving like stuff that happens within the series, and it doesn't feel like it's trying to like subject you to anything else like in reality. Because let's be honest too, things that I've already described to you, yes, you could argue that like this is something that we kind of had to face through in reality as well, but it makes sense because the characters in the story engage with it in a more realistic sense, at least for what it was in the 80s. Because we'll go into some of the stuff too of like you see on here where you see G-Witch or Gundam Witch from Mercury and Gundam G-Quux is too woke, only because of the fact they feature female protagonists. I'm gonna get to that in just a moment too, because this kind of shit pissed me off a little bit. And then we have stuff, in this case, labeling Hiro Yui from Gundam Wing and then Suletta Mercury from Witch from Mercury as autistic. They are not autistic. One of them is the fact that they were bred to be a child soldier on birth, and the other just happens to be a clone that her psychotic mother decided to just make a fuck ton of clones to power drone systems. So if anything, her weirdness is because of the fact that she is an accelerated clone.
Could have been decelerated.
Anyways, moving on from that. And then you have other people, other boomers complaining things that are outside the UC time, like, oh, we don't like Gundam Wing because it's not part of UC time. Like, shut your bitch ass up, all right? Let them actually want to entertain like new IPs for this franchise because it's still popular. They want to do something new with it, all right? I hate you. If anything, I won't go into the build series too because this is mostly like, here's the thing too, Michael, if you really want to experience like Gundam mecha action without all the political like story talks too or like the space opera about it, build series is like the kids version of Gundam, but like similar to how you would see Pokemon actually. So honestly, for anybody else that really likes mecha anime but doesn't really want to like involve themselves with like all the space opera stuff too, Build series is a perfectly fine anime series to go into if you just want dumb fun. There's nothing wrong with that. Same thing with G Gundam, but oh my god, only watch the G Gundam for the English dub, not the Japanese dub. Because that is the only time in the Gundam series where the English dub is better than the original source material. The only ever case. Outside of Samurai Champloo and Cowboy Bebop. And maybe Ghost in the Shell and Wolf's Rain and all the other Toonami era animes. Anyways, moving on from that point. Like I said, there have been a lot of bad takes about it too. So why G-Witch and G-Quux is too woke? It's because they feature like female protagonist characters. And that's such a dumb shit to like really be mad about. I'll be honest too. And again, it's dumb to be mad about of like, it didn't matter who the gender of the character of the Gundam story is. The fact that matters that the entirety of the Gundam series is to showcase how like it didn't matter if the main character is a boy or a girl too. It was the fact that they end up getting dragged into like other people's political games. It becomes like a king's war, effectively. The way how Gundam itself becomes like storytelling wise. Hell, even G Gundam had some sense of that too, because Domonkashu, the main character for G Gundam, he was effectively kind of a pawn for already a bigger game for another person. But in the end too, he was still like enact with friendship and love too, and then comes God Gundam. Anyways, we won't go into that one. That one's a bit weird. The more I look into that. So,
God Gundam.
Yes, mind you, it is not what you think it is. If you really want to have a fun time with drinks involved too, watch G Gundam. It is great. It is great. Actually, no drinks involved too. It's just fun. But now this is the end of my Crash Course seminar. Do you all have any questions about my unhinged talks about this too? And how I feel like I've been driven insane in describing new types?
New types.
Or even the fucking usage of Minersky particles. And at some point, it doesn't feel like it's a word anymore the more I repeat that.
Just sounds.
Like, just sounds, yeah. And, oh my god. I feel like, if anything, too, I love Gundam as, like, the entire series, despite, like, some of, like, the main thing to criticize is usually the Gundam fan bases sometimes. But a lot of it is just me, like, I like to immerse myself with the stories that they were trying to tell to. I've been watching a lot of, like, the other Gundam series that we could see the timelines here. I watched Seed growing up. I watched Iron Blooded Orphans, Double O, Gundam Wing, G Gundam, hell, and even a Build series that was objectively bad to a lot of people. But guess what? I didn't give a fuck, because at the end of the day, too, I think Gundam as a franchise to me is something that, like, I want to live by, like, the message of, like, I want to avoid the whole push for, like, propaganda and whatnot too. But at the same time, I love, in this case, some of the visuals that the Gundam series has to offer for us. Because it's one of, like, the fewer series in Mecha too that kind of nails both the space drama, or, like, the sci-fi drama, and also kind of like anchors itself in some type of reality, albeit not ours, but something that we could at least believe in.
Post-disaster IBO. What is that?
So, post-disaster is in a way that they treat Gundams itself as more like Calamity mobile suits. Because this is during, like, a very weird time where they have effectively said, nah, we're not going to use beam weapons now because all of our mobile suits are just equipped with coating that just disperses beam particles around us. Don't ask me the actual details about it. That's just how they rolled with it, all right?
I'm going to be curious on what the disaster is.
The disaster being is the fact that they had, like, an intelligent AI system that went rogue. So therefore, that's why they developed the anti-beam coating stuff too. Because this is assuming otherwise that this takes place kind of like as a branch offshoot of the Gundam UC timeline here, where beam weaponry was prolific, and they decided to, let's throw in AI. And let's be honest too, there were many times in the UC timeline they entertained the idea with AI, such as the exam system. The only thing I can say about that, the exam system, is though that they made, like, normal pilots pilot like new types. It was just unfortunate again too. None of the normal pilots could withstand the G force pressure that a mobile suit was able to pressure that new types are meant to enable. And the current exam system consumed the soul of a new type to power this AI system. Please do not ask me further, because I don't exactly know how that happened.
Ask him further.
Oh, god damn it.
Force him to answer us.
The only thing I will say, please do your own research, because this story is wild. Look up Blue Destiny exam system. That is all I will say too. And it is a very sad story. This is a very common thing about any UC timeline. There is no one having a happy ending in the UC timeline.
War never has a happy ending, Brian.
Yeah, even if somebody wins in war, it's still awful, because by the time, like, the 1-year war ended, like I said too, there were so many people that died during that conflict, like around 5.9 billion people. Can we even think about the fact that half the Earth's population died in that instant?
No.
Big meteor.
Actually, we probably could too. We watched the MCU where Thanos snapped like half of life off across the galaxy.
Oh, that's nothing, bro.
Oh, sorry. Did I say galaxy? I meant universe. My bad.
He only did half the job.
Yeah, that's nothing, bro.
Yeah, fair enough too. That would probably be the only thing that makes that have like some physical tangibility to our current modern brains right now. Is Thanos snapping that. But in all reality too, it's honestly the amount of like bodies that we sent into war that died in space that we don't know, like even like the amount of tolls that has done to people, and even during after war too, how much of the soldiers that are like remnants of effectively the 1 year war is like still kind of suffering through a lot of this shit too. That's also why I appreciate some of the other series that kind of go into after the Gundam series. You even had Gundam Unicorn somewhere on this timeline here that kind of showcases like what life was like after the 1 year war and Char's counterattack. And godly damn, it did not improve at all. You would think in the consequential war like this too, people would wise up too, and look at what we are doing in modern times too. Man. it's like in a weird way too, Gundam is sort of less like a black mirror for us in a way.
What does that phrase mean?
In a way too, that like it's a mirror towards us, that like we're not that much different than what even the sci-fi settings are like at. Because if you take away all the mecha action, all the science fiction and whatnot too, the core messaging is the fact that we will find some way to turn new technology into weapons against each other.
Sure.
And this ends my crash course seminar. Do you guys have any questions for this? No, I will not be answering if the fact that you can fuck a mobile suit. That happened once.
That was your question, obviously, because none of us
like
asked
your
that.
question.
That happened in a very weird one. Actually, it wasn't really that entirely.
It wasn't that weird.
Okay.
He's like, I'm gonna ask a question. No one asked this very specific question, but
Please.
you know there was this one episode for that very specific question no one asked. Isn't that weird?
Here's the funny thing about it. It wasn't an episode. You had to fucking read that shit somewhere.
So it's not erotic. Then.
So fanfic.
Not even.
No fanfic.
Oh god,
Sounds official.
It is official too, but at this point it might have been classified as a fan fiction because not a lot of people even know about it. It's not even like the diehard UC fans probably know about this one either. But I don't even know. I just remember hearing it from passing that someone mentioned it. I was like, what the fuck?
It's the non-canon event.
God. I love the Gundam series, but oh my god, I sometimes hate and love the fandom sometimes. I like the new people coming into Gundam kind of with like high hopes and expectations too, and then immediately being scarred in the fact that, oh, it's that type of anime. I was like, yeah, war crimes happen, child soldiers get enlisted, we're doing illegal experimentations on people, all that type of fun things in a Gundam series typically. And also the season 2 of any Gundam spin-off series is never the best series. It's never the best. That's just how we roll here.
Autobots, roll out.
Oh my god. I feel like I went a little bit on unhinged tangent on like my experiences with the Gundam fandom there. Sorry about that. Oh, hold on. I'm changing around scenes too many times. Anyways, we're now back to the OG scene here.
Nope.
Anyways, thoughts and questions about it, please. I don't want to answer anymore.
Thoughts?
Are you into fantasy?
What?
What?
I
Still think one of the best, not one of the best, but a really good anti-war film, All Quiet on the Western Front.
That is also a really good movie. I will say that.
I feel like that one would hit harder for the message it has to pertain or to convey to people.
I would say so as well. But again, a lot of people's like general knowledge of like how they take like any media that they consume is very subjective. Because despite that too, a lot of people will come out from the movie like thinking of another thing too. Not to say that they are wrong, but obviously if they claim that it's this thing, whereas you could clearly tell that they were trying to say other things, I don't know.
Yeah, usually the death of the author is once it's published.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. Do you think I feel pissed off that too? That like I'm mostly mad about the Gundam fandom just not taking the seriousness of like the propaganda that much to you, or do you think it's just the fact that like it's just people being dumb as fuck?
Maybe they really don't care about it and just want to watch their Gundam series.
That's true.
Fair point. Fair point. There's also me too, that I'm also a defender of the Build series, despite everybody saying that it's a series that might have killed the Gundam franchise. I don't think so. A lot of times, you kind of want like a break in your franchise like image to kind of placate to like children a lot of times. Because let's be honest here, all the mechas are cool as shit, unfortunately enough. Okay, there are some series that are debatably. We will not talk about G Reconquista. That one is very weird.
Just trying to say that name. You sound very unsure.
Yeah, G Reconquista is a series. I would not recommend this to anybody to watch it. I wouldn't even recommend this for people that love Gundam series. Not the fact that the series is bad, it's just I don't know how to describe it to you. But there's a scene in particular that showcases a man taking a shit in front of a woman.
Okay.
That is all I could say.
And I saw a movie where the guy jacked off to his fucking kids and wife, so. You think that's
Were they in the same room with each other? In the same cockpit as each other, one may say.
No, probably in the same vicinity as one is the cockpit in.
Well, I will say this. I recommend people, if they really want to get into the Gundam series, but not all the space drama, watch Gundam Build. To really get into it, if you want to like know the original story, go from the UC timeline and go forward from there. Otherwise, just have fun with the IP. I'm gonna collect even more Gundam card games because I love this franchise a lot.
And I'm still gonna whoop your ass.
Shut up! I hate
into
you.
me.
No, I don't want to fight you no more. God damn it!
You never fought me. You can't avoid me for too long.
God damn it! But anyways. Like I said, any closing remarks to my performance of this presentation?
Thank you.
Boo.
I hate you, Loy.
I gotta keep you humble, bro.
Keep you humble is crazy.
That's not even being humble. You just want to shit talk to my face, you asshole.
Hey, would you rather me shit talk behind your back?
I don't think that answers the anyways, moving on from that. Thank you all for tuning in for another me monologuing to these guys about like a series that I passionately like. Anyways, we'll see what we'll talk about next week. See y'all next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
I'll try Ryan later.
What?
What?
You're gonna do what later?